All right, we're live. Thanks for joining us today. Happy New Year to everyone that's watching on this January 6th, the 2019 edition of The Grind. I'm your host, Adam Johnson of 2ways10days.com for all things NBA G League. That should be your source. I'm also the courtside reporter for the Santa Cruz Warriors. Doing this for about, I think it's my 6th year doing this. Can't keep track anymore. Thanks for watching on this Sunday. Got a lot to talk about for this past week in NBA G League talk. First thing I want to get to is outgoing president Malcolm Turner. He is in his last week of his tenure as he leaves for a job at Vanderbilt University, where he's take over as athletic director. Shareef Abdur-Rahim will take his place. But in 4 years span, or 4.5 years, I should say, not even full 5 years, if you told me that Malcolm Turner would come in, kick the door down, drop the mic, and add 10 teams to the league, increase salaries, improve broadcast relations. You know, it's not just YouTube anymore, Facebook Live and ESPN Plus and Twitch and 11 Sports, and kind of just seeing what would stick. The education program as well for players, and the sponsorships. The one thing I'm overlooking right now is their complete rebranding of the league from the D League to the G League. A lot has changed in a short period of time, and it's been for the better, I should say. So I couldn't imagine knowing anyone else that could do so much in such a short period of time. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and a lot of knowledge about the business to not only do those things, but to execute them as well. Has it been perfect? No. But a lot more positive than negative, certainly. I wouldn't even, labeled as being negative, but, things might have had a better approach, per se. But overall, an amazing tenure from Malcolm Turner. Wish him the best of luck at his new venture with Vanderbilt University. And especially good luck to incoming president Shareef Abdur-Rahim. No knock on him, but when you look at the big grand scheme of things and see what exactly Malcolm did, you'd be hard-pressed to see anyone else kind of top that. And I think there's a lot of work behind the scenes that needs to be done that Shareef Abdur-Rahim will need to execute. And I've kind of spoken on that. Not to say that Malcolm's work was devalued. I think there's some important work that needs to be done once we get to 30 teams that Shareef will need to execute. So, excuse me. Again, best of luck to Malcolm Turner. Just want to touch on that before we really get started and dig in. It's been an amazing presence for the league, and best of luck. So, moving on after said that, a lot of great topics to talk about. Don't know the site already, it's 2ways10days.com. Got some articles up this week, 3 in fact. Here's the archive. You missed an episode of the show, we archive them on YouTube, so you can check them out here. And when I'm all there, I think it's episode 10. We made it to double digits. Kind of shocking, really, when you think about it. Are the Windy City Bulls for real? We'll get into that. The Capital City victory over Maine Red Claws, as well. And of course, yesterday, part of our namesake, the 10 days, 10-day contracts became available. Head on over to 2ways10days.com. We'll touch on this maybe a little bit more to see who we selected or thought were good selections for 10-day contracts in our opinion. Is this finite? No. Are we experts? No. Am I an expert? No. But these are players that stood out to me in this early part of the season. So feel free to check that out. We'll come back to that as well. So let's dive in first to the Windy City Bulls. So flashback to this team before the showcase. They were 5-12. They are now on an 8-game winning streak. They are now above 500. I wrote this after 6 games. They have continued to win. So let's kind of dig in here. What's working for Windy City? I think it's a couple. It's just like, it's sort of with last year with the Raptors 9-5 and the Erie Bayhawks, sort of this perfect storm, if you will, circumstances, right? So they're playing, increased offensive output. through their first 16 games, the Bulls averaged the fewest points per game in the season. So 95.9 points per game, shooting just barely above 40% from the field, which is terrible. Needless to say, I mean, those are bad numbers, right? The Erie Bayhawks have posted over 122 points per game in that span. Now, I don't cite Erie's record in this. It's just kind of juxtaposed with, the disparity in offense there when you have a team scoring nearly 30 points more a game. So somewhere in the middle there is where you really want to be. Somewhere like 105 to 110 area, I think, is where the G League's average is or should be. So they were also fourth worst in three-point shooting at 31.3%. Fast forward amid their win streak, and they are second at 43%. So a 12% increase from three-point range. They're playing better defense. That goes without saying. CJ Fair has been big for them. His defensive net rating, or his net rating, was negative 3.2 over 22 games this season. That's over the whole season, per se. But if you look at the small sample size over the win streak, it's a 10.2 net rating. So there's an increase in defensive effort from him. And it's showing. So he needs to deserve that recognition as well. He's also averaging 5.5 more points per game. Averaging basically a double-double, 57% from the field. They lost Tyler Ulis early in the season due to a hip injury. They recently acquired Brandon Sampson. I think he's only played one game for them at this point. But that's a positive. It's a net positive. You're not going to be a worse team for adding a player when you didn't have one to begin with. So, and Brandon Sampson's a quality player. He's got a lot of upside too. And then, adding Walt Lemon Jr. is huge. You can't say anything about that. He was in the conversation for MVP last year for the G League. They got him via trade after the Boston Celtics waived him from this two-way deal. The Mad Ants owned his G League rights, and the Windy City Bulls made a play for him. And good on them. Very good on them. It was a very smart decision. And, I mean, it just shows how fluid the G League can be, right? You can be on top one moment, and the next one we could be in the bottom. Same thing here. You could be near the bottom of the league at 5-12, and there's still time to turn around. They are above 500 now. They are 13-12. I mean, I need to fix this. It's now an 8-game win streak instead of 6. But kudos to them. Best of luck to them. I never want to see teams struggle. I don't enjoy or relish seeing a team struggle. It's not enjoyable for me either to cover. I like to stick to the positives of the league too, for the most part. Am I able to give out criticism? Sure. But, I like to stick to the positive stories more or less when it comes to this league instead of shining the negative light, so to speak. So, congrats to the Windy City Bulls on their recent success. Hopefully they can sustain it. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't, but it goes to show, again, the 905 and Erie Bayhawks last season started 5-10. You had the Bulls who were worse at 5-12, and they're turning around. Things can change on a dime in the G League with the way how fluid rosters are. Maybe you add a two-way guy. Maybe you're missing your two-way guy. Maybe you get a couple assignment players as well. So, things can change really quickly in the G League. I think that's what's hard for some fans to understand is it's a very fluid process when it comes to the G League. So, moving on. Let's talk Capital City. Their victory over the Maine Red Claws showcases importance of Coach's Challenge. So, right here, this was the game. I think it took place Thursday. Yes, Thursday night was no exception is what I wrote. Should remember that. So, they came with a 105-104 victory, but that was an overtime, which I failed to mention here. 33 seconds to play. Game's tied 101. Devin Robinson was called for a blocking foul against P.J. Dozier. The Red Claws two-way player made the basket on the foul call, thus setting him the fouling the possibility of putting Maine up by 3 late. But because of the challenge, Go-Go head coach Jarrell Christian wanted the refs to take another look at it. After all, what did he have to lose at that point in the game? Yeah, he has a challenge. You don't use it, you lose it. So it's a call you can challenge, any kind of foul call you can. So give it a look at it. And the problem with challenges in the G League, and this is well known, is they don't have the best camera angles. You're not looking at high def 10 to 12 different camera angles, across a single broadcast. You've maybe got 3 or 4, maybe even less than that, depending on the team. 5, 6 in some cases if they have a few more cameras. But I mean, it's not to the quality of an NBA broadcast where it's super high def, frame by frame. So it's really up to a lot of times that's why you see calls, because you need to have indisputable evidence that for a call to be overturned. A lot of times they just don't have that because of the camera angle. So we'll play it right here, and hopefully you can see this. Let me see if I can pull this up here. And we can see here, they pull it back. Look at David Robinson's feet here. And right there, he's outside the restricted area. So his feet cut across once the contact is made, which is fine. We can play that one more time for you. So again, this is part of the coach's challenge. If it'll let me play again. Doesn't want to. Okay, but I mean, you saw it. You can tell clearly that his feet were outside the restricted area. Without a coach's challenge, that call doesn't get overturned, and Capital City likely loses that game. So this is another example of why the coach's challenge is so important. And we kind of forget that referees are human, and we expect perfection out of them. And it's not a knock against them, certainly. I mean, the game has gotten faster, players are stronger, more athletic, yet they have the same eyes to try and perceive all of that. And I think it's unfair to them, per se, to expect that they get every call right. I think that when I say that, I mean mistakes happen, and I mean human error is a part of it, and that should be accepted. It should be accepted, not expected, though, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If that makes sense at all. But I mean, it's part of being a referee and official. I mean, if the league really wanted to, I'm sure they could go to robotic refs of some sort. They have the technology, and eliminate referees and let artificial intelligence call the game. And who knows? Maybe that happens at some point. I doubt it. There'd be major upheaval from unions, to say the least. But I mean, this is a perfect example, again, of why coaches' challenges are important, and why we'll probably see them in the NBA at some point, and why another reason why the G League is important to follow, because you see these rules in practice. So this is a perfect example, as you can see clearly here. Capital City ended up winning this game 105-104, and now they're back, as of this publication or published article, 9-9, and they snap a 2-game losing streak. So, I mean, this is prime real estate right here to show the value of the coach's challenge. I thought it was just very important to showcase that as well. Meanwhile, over in the NBA G League, let's talk G League basketball here for a bit. Let's talk Angel Delgado breaking the record from my guy Jack Cooley with 31 rebounds in a game.
Gets the ball in deep to Delgado.
Let's watch these highlights.
Down, Angel. That's something you can't do. And look at Angel Delgado. Fakes the pass. Sweet play. Fake it. Gets up to the cup. Now, if you're going to vacate the lane like that, ball into Angel Delgado.
Jonathan Motley and Angel Delgado, two of the biggest beasts in the G League, per se. Delgado is just, he's improved a lot already this season, but he's had games, I think, with like 21 rebounds, 19 rebounds, a couple 20-rebound games as well. So, I mean, he's had the potential to do something like this. 31 boards, though, is insane. That's a monster game. Especially against a team like OKC. They're a pretty tall team as well and athletic, and typically do control the rebounds. So that is surprising in that respect. The team he did it against, it wasn't against like a Northern Arizona Suns or a Wisconsin Herd who are struggling this season. OKC's a very, very good team. And the Clippers, again, another team on the up. I mean, there's a lot of parity this year. I feel like the talent across the board is a lot better this year. And it's the perfect example of it. But again, Delgado working in the post, old school style, just so strong. Yep. 31 rebounds for Angel Delgado. Needless to say. Oops. Right there. So congratulations to Angel Delgado for breaking the G League record. Jack Cooley was great while it lasted. I know you said you wanted to get to 30 rebounds and break that record of your own, but may your record rest in peace. I'll leave it at that. Moving on, we can look around the league as well. Take a look at some of the transactions this past week. So the Sioux Falls Skyforce and Cannon Charge traded Malik Newman and Emmanuel Terry. The Raptors 905 traded Roger Mute Abdias to the RGV Vipers in exchange for a 2019 third-round pick. Chance Comanche making his way back to the Memphis Hustle as a returning player. Jordan Howard, who was in camp with the Santa Cruz Warriors and was with the Texas Legends for a bit, has been acquired by the Raptors 905. Diamond Stone waived. That's a pretty big note there. I feel like it was just... Anyway, yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I'm surprised with that, but I'm not. Kevin Olakaibe was waived. A couple pickups here as well. Archie Goodwin, returning player for the Maine Red Claws. Okara White, returning player for the Long Island Nets. Okara White was with the Washington Wizards, excuse me. Was on assignment with the Go-Go for a bit. He was waived, and now the Long Island Nets actually held his rights, not the Go-Go. So that's why he returns to them. Justin Dentman, returning player for the Texas Legends. Big story there. I think he put up 21 points last night in the Texas Legends' loss to the Santa Cruz Warriors. And a few more here as well, as you can see. So Kevin Olakaibe was acquired on December 30th, and then he was waived just 5 days later, unfortunately, assuming that Okara White came back. And, you make these transactions not knowing if and when who people are coming and going. It's a fluid league. So, unfortunate for him, but that's the way of the G League, unfortunately. Take a look at the standings around the G League. What do we have here? If it wants to work. Loading. There we go. The Long Island Nets that we just mentioned, 16-6 on a 4-game win streak. Westchester Knicks, Raptors 9-5. Lakeland Magic 11-9. Windy City Bulls right here, see? They are now 6th best team. They would be in the playoffs if they ended today at the halfway mark. 8 winners of 8-2 over the last 10, 8 in a row. They're on the up. Then we got a lot of parity here. 11-11, 11-12. So these, from 11-9 to 11-12 right here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 6 teams. It's up for grabs, right? Maybe a little bit less here between Grand Rapids and below, as those teams have struggled a bit. Maybe for Grand Rapids and Delaware, Canton and Maine and Wisconsin, I'd say it's pretty tough at this point. But again, we just mentioned the league's pretty fluid. Things can change. But I think you're looking at right now, from Greensboro to Lakeland, all these teams are in the mix here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 teams for 6 spots. So that'll be fun to watch. Over on the Western Conference side, you got the Oklahoma City Blue, 17-6. Santa Cruz Warriors, the top 2 at 17-6 as well. Sioux Falls, 15-9. They lose Jarnell Stokes, but they only had him really for 2.5 weeks. As the Memphis Grizzlies signed him to a 2-way contract. The Grizzlies waived DJ Steffens. They're 14-9 as well. They're on the up. Stockton Kings were winners of 6 in a row before they lost to the Windy City Bulls last night. They're on the up. RGV Vipers. That's a surprising record to me, only because they're a very, very young team. A lot of rookies. I think it's 6 rookies on that team. But they are succeeding. They are hungry, certainly. Agua Caliente Clippers are there as well. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams here that are over 500. 9 teams, over 500 in the mix. South Bay, Iowa, Texas, and the Northern Arizona Suns, who are sliding on an 11-game losing streak. Hopefully they can pick up a win here in the near future. So that's the scene around the league thus far. Let me take a look here. Again, it's anybody's game, especially now it's 6-team playoff in each conference. It used to be 4. They've increased it to 6. I imagine maybe when it gets to 30 teams, they might see a full-fledged 8-team per conference playoff. That would be interesting to see as well if the playoffs continue to expand. I assume they will. I think they want this league to model the same as the NBA. It's good coffee. So one final story for this past week. Let's talk G League logo, right? So this might be of interest. This might not. But you know, the G League got a new logo. In fact, maybe I just do let's just do a Google search, right? You get a nice huge picture of it, right? Images. That thing. There we go. Look at that. So this logo here was the new logo compared to this, right? D League to G League. Okay. And the D League logo is a specific person. I can't remember who. PR, if they're watching this, will probably remind me in a short bit who exactly this is. I believe it's just someone in the office. I don't think it's a player even, but I could be wrong. I should know this. I've been told the logo name one time, though. The G League logo, though, this is nobody. This is no identifiable person. It's a composite. It's a composite logo, and I think for reasons because they don't want to attach to a single player, which makes perfect sense in this league. So royalties and branding and things like that, you know. So it makes sense why it's not a person. But if you talk to the Kansas City Star, and I'm pulling this up, the man on the G League logo is looking to bring a championship to Kansas City. But ask them who was silhouetted on the NBA G League logo, and you'll probably be hard-pressed to find a correct answer. It's Ronaldo Major. Kansas City Star, it is not Ronaldo Major. I am sorry to tell you that, and it's unfortunate. I believe if I click the link, yeah, the Kansas City Star, they have since changed this story. It used to have the opening graph, the header and opener was all mentioning Ronaldo Major as the G League logo. And that makes sense, right? He's the all-time leading scorer. He's played in the most games, I believe. Leads the league in steals, all those things. You know, he's 10 years experience in the minor leagues. So, I mean, it makes sense it would be him. But for the record, it is not Ronaldo Major. And it's kind of shocking, to me at least, as a journalist, that the research wasn't done. I don't know who told him that. I don't know if it was Ronaldo Major himself that said he was the logo, which is interesting because he wasn't even in the G League last year when it became the G League. But no, it is not Ronaldo Major. It is not a single person. Tell anyone that's watching this around the league, it is not any single person at all. I wish I had the archive of this that listed it specifically, but you can see from the link that I got from my Google Alerts, it has the previous header saying that it was Ronaldo Major, but it is not. Ronaldo Major is not the G League logo. Contrary to popular belief, I just want to kind of debunk that and settle that and put that to rest. For those that were curious, the G League logo is nobody. It is not a single person. So, again, I think that's going to wrap it up on this episode. Run a bit short, but I think we got everything in from this week. It's been a good week to start the season. 10-day contracts. Let's talk a little bit about those before we go out. So, who should your team call up with available 10-day contracts? So, couple things. I don't want that one. So 10-day contracts here. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You'll see a lot of G League guys are in call-ups at this point. You know, as teams try and fill rotation spots for the end of the year, need a couple extra bodies. Maybe they're rebuilding and want to see, trying to evaluate talent to possibly bring on for the next season. So they give them 10-day contracts. Teams can only offer 2 of those to a single player before deciding if they want to keep them for the remainder of the season. I think that's so they can player can't be just dragged on and on with 10-day contracts for the rest of the season. Sort of just nail that and commit to them long term, which makes sense, right? So here's some of the players here that I'll just go through them really briefly. Kendrick Nunn, Santa Cruz Warriors, having 20.1 points, 4.2 rebounds, 2.8 assists. Rafael Putney, Sioux Falls, Anthony Bennett, Agua Caliente Clippers. I am sure that you are scratching your head as you're watching this or reading this. But yeah, read a little bit more. These are quick snippets about guys that I'm interested in. John Jenkins, Westchester Knicks. Look at that shot chart. Daniel Ochifu, Stockton Kings. I really like what he's doing. Bonzie Colson, Canton Charge, of course. Stephon Hicks, Fort Wayne Mad Ants. These are all guys I see on the cusp. Again, I'm not saying they will earn them. I'm not saying that these are the guys who will be called up. These are just guys that intrigue me as players at this point. And there's more in this league that I'm missing, I'm sure. I can go on and on all the time about the players in this league. There's plenty more, but these are the ones that intrigue me the most. So head on over to 2ways10days.com for that. Again, feel free to check out the site if you have a moment. We got all the audio interviews up here throughout the season. This is something I'm working on too. I'm going to plug this. This is all the work you see behind the scenes, so that you don't see perhaps. So I just want to kind of throw that out there. All these interviews throughout the season thus far. You've also got FAQ. Try to keep this up to date with each passing season. Just general information on the G League. If you have questions, we try and answer most of them through this archive, or actually not archive, through this FAQ. So check that out if you ever have questions about the G League. Two-way contract FAQ as well. It's got its own FAQ since it's only in its second year in the league, so check that out as well. And then the contract tracker, I try and keep track of all the players signed and waived throughout the year. Last update December 29th, so this should be up to date. All the players that have been waived as well. Converted deals, you'll see those here. Everything else in between, this is last year's iterations. You can see all these players that were waived last year on two-way deals. Looks like it's less. We might see some more movement though. The deadline to sign two-way players is January 15th. So we could see some guys move in this next week as they become locked in. Now I want to stress though, even though they're locked in, that doesn't mean that they are guaranteed deals. They will become guaranteed deals on the 20th of January, I believe. But that's only the G League salary. It's not their NBA salary. So even though they're locked in and the teams can't sign players to those deals, they don't become guaranteed. I just kind of want to stress that as well. So with that, let's about wrap it up. I am expecting to have a guest next week. Highwood Haysmith of the Delaware Blue Coats should be on this episode next week of The Grind. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.